Hello, I'm sort of congested today, so rather than do a review, I thought I would take the opportunity to be catty and burn bridges. So my feed has been throwing me a lot of watch videos recently, and particularly a lot of a very specific kind. The 10 best watches under $100, under $500, under 200, whatever. Five best, whatever. The channels seem to crank these things out at least once a week. Usually there's a gentleman with a very nice accent presenting these things. And they're very click worthy. It reminds me of a series of games that my fellow wine associates and I used to play back when I was selling lots of wine, which was basically, well, we started off doing like, okay, you got a budget of $100, $50, whatever. Go find the best wine you can. And we did this to kind of keep ourselves entertained. And it got boring pretty quickly because, for a lot of reasons, mainly because the same categories kept coming up over and over and over again. So I invented a much more perverse and fun and difficult version of this game, which was given your budget, $50, $100, go and find the worst wine you possibly can. Imagine that you still know all you know about, about the business, but then go with the explicit goal of wasting your money and find what you can. And this is actually a very useful exercise because, especially once you're spending $50, $100, it's kind of hard. Most of what is there, at least in wine, is kind of good. A lot of it's overpriced, a lot of it's overbranded, bland, boring, but there's not a lot of like true crap. So you really had to work to find it. And it also was useful because it kind of gave you a floor, and that kind of, because what makes those 10 best whatever lists useful is knowing what the counterfactual is, what you could have spent your $100 or $500 or whatever on, and didn't, and chose something better instead. So I thought, given that I can't do a review today, I would apply that game to spirits. Let's talk about the 10 worst spirits you could buy for $100. Now I have to limit this, right? So we're going to limit it to what I can go and buy at a local Illinois Binny's. So I'm going to use their pricing and their availability. So I know there's going to be complaints in the comments from people who are not listening to me right now about how something I mentioned is too far under the limit or too far over. That's Binny's pricing. Or someone is going to mention, why is Good Times not on there? And I feel you. But I have to go by, because these are the rules I am choosing, I have to go by what is available to me at these stores. So I got a top 12. It started out with 10, and then a bunch of others crept on when I noticed that they were there. So top 12, a couple of honorable mentions. And my considerations involved, well, first of all, is it actually hitting the budget? Because something could be absolutely dreadful, but if it's $70, like, it's not making the list. So the closer it gets to $100, the better. If it nails it dead on, that's the ideal. Beyond that, we're considering, is it unpleasant to drink? Is it boring and unmemorable to drink? Is it vastly overpriced? Is it cynical? Just all the various things that could potentially make a spirit, not good. All right, that's the introduction. Let's get into this. I'm going to use my broken cell phone here for visual aids. I'm going to turn the brightness down on the way. Hopefully the display will still work. All right, honorable mentions. So we're going to start out with some things which are basically bad ideas, terrible ideas, sort of well executed. We're going to start out with tealing. This is the Teeling Single pot still, aged in Bordeaux red wine cask. This is a Binny's pick. There were a bunch of Teelings out there, sort of interesting finishes or casks. And there's like a ginger beer one. But, Irish pot still in red wine, and particularly Bordeaux, which is earthy and serious, very tannic, built for the ages. That just seems like it's guaranteed to be a bad idea. I've had Teeling stuff before. I like their stuff. Generally, their source stock and their self-distilled stuff. And they put a lot of cask out there. And if I had to, one of them had to make this list, and the one I'm pretty sure is just not going to be good is the board, like red wine, leafy red wine plus, the already kind of grungy nature of Irish pot still. Oh no. Okay. Also in the same genre, Glenallachie. Come on, focus. Glenallachie. My phone keeps trying to turn the brightness up. No, down. 7-year-old, finished in Hungarian virgin oak. So we're taking a 7-year-old, and we're going to throw it in basically a fresh cask of Quercus robur for a limited amount of time to suck up all the darkness and tannins that it possibly can. So, if you were into chewing on splinters, this may be your jam. Glenallachie is a pretty delicate malt. This just seems like a bad idea to me. This is another producer that's just been flooding the market with tons of weird finishes, single casks, all kind of stuff. So why is this? It actually has an age statement, unlike the Teeling. So why is it on this list? Still, because it is not bottled at cask strength. It's a mere 48%. You're paying $100 for this for your Hungarian virgin oak finished 7-year-old Glenallachie, but they're not going to give it to you at cask strength. Yeah. Next up, here's one I desperately wanted to put on my top 12, but it just couldn't make it. Dalmore, the Portwood Reserve. So this is American cask Dalmore. This has been finished in tawny port, and it's $100, non-age stated. This is not going to be good. It's going to be, it's Dalmore, so it's going to be kind of blandly pleasant. So maybe that saves it. And I would love to throw this on this list, but unfortunately they bottled it at 46%. So that little, silver lining is what is keeping it off the list. What else? Oh, this one kind of hurts, but it needs to be here. Ohishi, whiskey, Mizunara cask. This is an 11-year-old. Ohishi has rice whiskey. It's which is very interesting. Like it's pot distilled. There's no koji involved, I don't think, in these kind of pot still rice whiskeys. But still, it's super cool. They're throwing malted and unmalted rice in there. But it's a very, very delicate distillate. I've had the sherried version of this, and it just, like, you have like a second to appreciate the kind of savory nature of the distillate before it's just all like buried under the wood. And Mizunara being at least as aggressive as sherry is, like this stuff, like you're just tasting wood. And that's that. No, it does have an actual age statement, and it is an actual interesting distillate, which is why it's on the list. But it will not be the last Japanese whiskey on this list. And my last honorable mention. This is gonna make people angry that I don't have this lower down, but here we go. Garrison Brothers, single barrel, Texas straight bourbon whiskey. It's 47% alcohol. It's 4 years old. For a single barrel bourbon, it is $100. That is absolutely redonkulously bad value. So if you were to walk into a store and your goal was to to buy something with bad value and you walked out with this, you will have done well for yourself. The only problem with it is it's actually kind of an interesting like they're distilling their own stuff. It's a craft distillery. And the spirit is actually kind of interesting. It's very herbaceous. It's very kind of like, I don't know, it has like a stewed balsamic thing and you know, I'll give them credit for that. This is, and that alone is what is keeping it off this list. $100 for a 4-year-old, 47% bourbon whiskey. Wow. That being said, this is not the last bourbon we will be seeing on the list. All right, moving on to the actual top 12. Drum roll, please. So these are the worst possible values you can get for your $100 if you were to walk into Binny's right now. Starting off the list, there were a couple of ridiculous decanters I wanted to pick, but this was my favorite of the bunch, Collector's Edition. American Eagle bourbon whiskey ceramic. There is apparently some 80 proof bourbon whiskey in this. I have no idea what it is or where it's sourced from. It doesn't really matter. You were getting an ugly decanter with an eagle on it. And that is really what's saving this. I mean, it's $100 for a bottle of, let's be kind and assume not good bourbon. But you are getting a ridiculous decanter out of it. I mean, look at this thing. It's not worth $100, but that will never get old. So yeah, it goes on number 12. That is a fine way. There's a ton of novelty decanters out there around $100, all of which contain highly questionable spirits contents. All right, moving on. Number 11, Ilegal, Añejo. This is very, very innocuous mezcal. It's been aged in American oak for a little over a year, I think 13 months. And it basically tastes like a kind of serviceable añejo tequila, which is already a category that's kind of overpriced. Here you were paying $100 for that. 40%, kind of, you know, vague agave and oak. Yeah, it's not terrible. I've had the Ilegal range. It's not terrible. It's just, yeah, it's it's at least twice as much money as it should be for what you're getting. Moving on to number 10. There had to be a vodka on this list, and this is a good one. JCB vodka. They do make a caviar version of this, which I was tempted to put on this list, but I was just, I couldn't bring myself to actually consider the idea of buying such a thing. So we're going to go with the standard Jean-Charles Boisset vodka. What is this? I mean, so the good old days of overpriced crystal filtered vodka are sort of long behind us, and if they were, this one gets on the list because it is exactly $100, and because I love what they've done with this. So what they have done is they've gone to Burgundy, and they have found basically finished wine. So wine that has been aged in oak barrels for at least 6 months, and they have distilled that, and that is what this is. The vodka is not aged, but the underlying wine was, and we're not talking like spare Pinot Blanc or Aligoté or something here. We are talking about Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and they just something about the idea of throwing finished Burgundy, the stuff you can actually charge money for, into an industrial still to make it into vodka, is endlessly amusing to me. And it's a kind of novel idea, I guess, which is why it's not going further up this list, even though it's, you know, it's a vodka, man. Like it's got your usual list of ambiguous numbers of distillation. It's got your 40%. It's got everything you want in a terrible value $100 vodka. I just like that they just poured some Burgundy right in the still. They just did that. All right, moving on. This one's gonna make some people angry. I hate that. Okay. Number 9. Hibiki Harmony. Hibiki Harmony at number 9. So I bought Hibiki Harmony for tasting a number of years ago, and I did not like it. I felt like I paid too much money for it, and I felt like it tasted... It managed the trick of tasting both too delicate and aromatic, and also like just too woody and heavy, all at the same time. And I kind of wrote it off. Now here it is, still on the shelves, and it's $100. I granted I have not tried the JCB vodka. It is entirely possible I might like the JCB vodka more than I like Hibiki Harmony. That being said, if you like it, I still feel like it deserves a place in this list because it's basically a blended whiskey. It's a non-age stated blended whiskey. They are giving you 43%, which is nice, but it's a blended whiskey that with no age statement for $100. If you are in the market for a somehow both delicate and also too woody non-age stated 43% blended whiskey, just buy Monkey Shoulder. If it really has to be, a Japanese whiskey or something like that, go buy Nika from the barrel, for God's sake. And I know someone's going to complain, well, the first one's Scotch and the second one has Ben Nevis in it. Look, things are not automatically better. They are not automatically worth 3 times the money just because they are coming from Japan or because they seem vaguely Japanese. Look, there is a situation in which you could absolutely charge 3 times as much money for the same bottle. But since this one is not colored red and called the Char Special, they can do that. I really hope one person laughed at that and my outdated Gundam meme. Hibiki Harmony, number 9. All right, moving on. Ooh, okay. One of these had to be on the list. So there had to be a Crystallino. And I'm going to go with Mijenta Crystallino. So a Crystallino, to catch up those of you who are blissfully ignorant, is what happens when you age tequila and then run it through charcoal filtering to remove the color and also remove quite a lot of the flavors involved. And then you charge more money for it, and it gives you an opportunity for your brand to have an extra spot on the shelf. Crystallino, so it's for people who, they don't want a Blanco tequila, but they also don't want an aged tequila. These are people who would probably be happier just drinking like, a Grey Goose gimlet or something, but, they found out maybe somewhere along the line that Grey Goose has gluten in it, so they've moved to tequila, sadly. The reason why I picked Mijenta in particular, there's a couple of reasons. One is, Mijenta is actually a pretty decent brand. Their standard lineup, their Blanco is actually pretty good. So I picked them because they're a brand that should have known better. Also because it absolutely landed right on that $100 mark, so extra points for that. And also because it's a Reposado and not an Añejos, they didn't even give this stuff like the benefit of a full year in cask before they ripped all the flavor out of it. And also because this is the only Crystallino I saw at that price point that is certified additive free by Tequila Matchmaker. So this is the Crystallino for people who literally want nothing in their tequila, not even additives. And for those of you who are complaining right now, additives are awful, where are the additives on this? Oh, we will get to the additives. They are coming soon. All right, moving on to number 7. Drumchambeau Pinot Noir cask. I like this. Drumchambeau is another producer that I actually really like. So it's a craft distillery. They distill their own stuff, their own pot still whiskey. They actually use oats in the mash, which is always going to get me on board. I'm always going to be a fan of like oat-based whiskey, and their standard which I tried, is, I mean, it's kind of the textbook example of, has upside. It's not there yet, but there is like a creaminess to it that is really, really cool. And I would love to see what it does with another just 10 years and halfway active cask. But of course, that's not what they did here. They just threw it in a Pinot Noir barrel. It's 43%, non-age stated, $100, and it was in a Pinot. Now, that being said, if I had to pick something on this entire list that I thought might actually not be terrible to drink or be kind of interesting to drink, this would probably be the one. I think that their distillate is fat enough to survive a red wine cask. Do I think it's going to benefit it? No. And it's an affront to a distillate I actually like, and that is why it is number 7 on this list. We are getting into the last 6. This is where things are going to get particularly painful. Okay, so number 6, Homage XO, California, brandy. So this is very, very, okay, so first of all, I stole this photo from Maxim, I think, and I'm not sure if you can tell. They actually just put a Panerai right next to this stuff, which tells you all you need to know about the marketing of it. So now, okay, this is a small, relatively new business from some guys who broke off from big companies. I can't remember who exactly. And in general, I want to support that sort of thing. And I support, absolutely, pushing American brandy. That is, I am on board. I have had the American brandy Kool-Aid. The U.S. has so many talented distillers. We have so much, relatively cheap, good quality fruit to make. And if you don't want to start in, on the ground floor actually distilling stuff, hey, there's lots of stocks floating around, lots of old stocks that you can kind of buy up and bottle yourself. And that's what Homage is doing. Homage, incidentally, we add the H. Homage is basically copy, imitation. Yeah. So I'm on board with getting those old brandy stocks and bottling them under your own name. That's basically what they've done. They sourced Central Valley California grape, or they've sourced brandy made from Central Valley California grapes, which is basically the area for growing jug wine, that kind of thing, which is great. I mean, you want to distill the grapes that wouldn't be that great for making wine, right? This is traditional. That's cognac. That's Armagnac. That's everyone. This has been distilled. They're a little bit iffy on how it was distilled, but there might have been some pot stills involved, maybe. And they made a blend where the minimum age was 6 years, and all this is great. All this is I'm into so far. And then they put it into a big flashy garish bottle, bottled at 40%, and charged $100 for it. No. Now you are competing with cognacs that are older than you and also cheaper. I can name off half a dozen 6-year-old cognacs that are less expensive than Homage, the copy from California. And if you're looking for something that's going to appeal to red-blooded American patriots, well, there are whiskeys that are considerably cheaper and considerably older than this as well. So what are you doing? Who is this product for? Is there something special about it that's going into that? If there is, they are telling us. So yeah. Now I don't want to, the reason that they are number 6, and I don't want to hurt them too. It's a small business apparently, and they do make a VS and a VSOP, which are much more reasonably priced. They're still not really my thing. They're still bottled at 40%, but I will grant them that. This is the one that just struck me as completely bonkers, and yeah, it makes number 6 on the list. But it's considerably less. I hate it much less than I hate Angel's Envy Rye. Sorry, I hate my phone. Angel's Envy Rye. This was not on the list until the last minute because I think some part of my brain just refused to allow me to know that this was $90 at retail. It is a rye finished in rum. That is what they're calling it, and that is an insult to me, both as a rum and a rye fan. This stuff is faker than a $3 bill. It tastes like they started with a set of tasting notes and then did alterations to their spirit in order to make it fit those tasting notes, rather than trying to go the other way around. How old is it? I don't know. What exactly are the components? I don't know. How long does the finishing process work? I don't know. I think that's going to be for this whole list, but particularly for the bottom half of the list. You're seeing a lot of like trust me bro kind of things happening when you try to look for information on these things. Now the only reason Angel's Envy Rye is not further down this list is they actually did you the favor of bottling it at 100 proof. Maybe to match whistle pig, I don't know. So in any case, it's not going to get lost in a Manhattan as much as I would like it to. All right, moving on. Number 4. One of these had to show up. You know it did. And it's going to be Ron Zacapa, Edición Negra. Good old Zacapa. What is this? So they've taken Zacapa, which is cloyingly sweet, like hilariously sweet. It's the textbook, along with Diplomatico, the textbook sugared up, quote unquote premium rum. What they have done is they finished it in Pedro Jimenez casks. So Pedro Jimenez, if you don't know, is basically like liquid raisins. It's one of the sweetest things I've ever tasted in my life. If I love it, and it's absolutely worth buying a bottle, but buy the smallest bottle you can possibly get yourself, because it is tough to get through that stuff. It's enjoyable, but it's tough. So someone out there said to themselves, you know what, regular Ron Zacapa it's just not sweet and cloying enough. We need to throw it into some PX casks. Yeah. So the reason why this is not further down the list is it's actually a bargain. It is only $80. So the extra $20 would have put this further down. Absolutely. They also, Daddy Diageo did us the favor of bottling this at 43%. Good job, Diageo. Good job listening to your customers. So super premium. Also, if you ignore the fake Solera age statement, there is actually in the small print a real age statement that this is the youngest rum in here is 6 years old. So all of it, good information. Do I want one? No, absolutely not. Keep this stuff away from me. But yeah. Fourth on the list, and we shall move on. So what could be worse than an already sugared up, cloying rum that's been finished in PX? You will have a hard time working through the bottle without giving yourself diabetes. Well, how about spending $100 on something that, I was going to say you're not even going to remember, but it's worse than that. Something which is just going to sit in the back of your cabinet until the end of days, because it's too expensive to do mixing with, and it's also too expensive, but it's like just too boring and pedestrian to ever like pour and sip. And that's going to be Jefferson's Twin Oak. What is this? I will tell you what I know. So it is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, bottled at just over 45.1%, so just over 90 proof. A couple of sites in the internet reviews suggest this is 10 years old, but there's nothing about that on the site. I don't see anything on the bottle. And what they have done is they have taken it out of its the bourbons involved out of their regular barrels. They're so sort of charred new oak, and put it in a different charred new oak barrel. How is it different? What is the components? They're not really saying. There's some talk about like grooves and waves and stuff, but it's all very vague. So what is how old is this? Yeah. What distilleries made this? I don't know. Mash bill? I don't know. I know nothing about what is going into this bottle. I did have a chance to try it a little ways after. It was one of the first tastings I did after lockdown, actually. But I got poured the Jefferson Range, and this just tasted like a bourbon. It just tasted like a bourbony bourbon, the most bourbony bourbon you could possibly imagine, except it's $100, and you have no idea what's going in the bottle. The standard Jefferson single barrel is better than this and considerably less expensive. Even that stupid ocean aged one is better than this. This is up there in terms of if you were going to try. Why the hell does it keep adjusting up? If you were to try to pick something deliberately that was terrible value, this would be a very, very good choice. Because you're just never going to drink it. There's just always going to be something else that will do the job better. All right, but in that same genre of just like, you've no idea, trust me, bro, even though you have no idea what's in the bottle, you can do worse. You can do worse. Let's talk about Henny White. Henny White. I have a personal hatred for Henny White, or Penny Pure White, if you're allowed to use the word pure on labels in your part of the world. Because I was stuck in line at the duty-free shop in the Jamaican airport behind a whole bunch of people buying Henny White, because that's where it was available at the time. What is this? It's a cognac. Where's it from? A bunch of cognac regions. How old is it? They're stating between 2 and 50 years old. What kind of wood? How's it blended? Who did this distilling? I don't know, but it's $100. I've tried this. It is a very light, forgettable cognac. That's all it is. That's all it is, and you can get that for, a fraction of this price. You can get it for under a quarter of the price tag of this stuff. So yeah, that's number 2 on the list. We are climbing the summit of worst possible values, but it's not the worst. You can do even worse than, you can get even less for your dollar than Henny White or Jefferson Twin Oak. And so that brings us to number 1. There can only be one winner, even though in this case I'm cheating you, because this winner is representing a whole bunch of different bottles, which are all basically the same, but I didn't want them to all flood onto this list. And some of you have already guessed what this is. Because it is Adictivo Extra Añejo Tequila. So yeah, there's a million variations on these things, all coming from the same handful of distilleries. And yeah, so if you are too cheap to buy Clase Azul, actually, you know what? Clase Azul might have been the right answer to this whole video. It might have been just get yourself more money and buy Clase Azul, and that's the worst way to spend your $100 in the liquor store. But this is pretty close. Adictivo, Gran Oro de something, they're all basically following the same formula. Take a very, very basic characterless distillate, smack the hell out of it with highly extractive oak, possibly from a barrel, maybe from a barrel, and then slap it with a whole bunch of additives, the scourge of modern tequila, that kind of fake birthday cake icing and chemical sugary stuff Hammer all that in along with your oak. Slap an age statement on it. Put it in a ridiculous decanter thing. And yeah, and that's what you get. It does have the extra age statement, the extra añejo thing going forward above standard Clase Azul, but that's kind of about it. It's terrible. This stuff is all terrible. It tastes like you're trying to eat like some chemical recreation of a Tootsie Roll cupcake. They are borderline. I find them borderline undrinkable, and they for me are the worst use of your liquor store money. So there you have it. That is your winner. Adictivo Extra Añejo Tequila. And that is our list. I never really thought about how to end this thing, but yeah, so hopefully having this knowledge, well, first of all, here's an appeal to action. You post down below what you think the worst use of $100 in your local liquor store is, or if you think I'm dead wrong about some of these, you can post that below as well. It's kind of fun to do this every once in a while, just to remind yourself again of what the floor is. As much as we complain about people leaving the liquor store with a bottle of, Macallan Traditional or something, that could have been a Jefferson's Twin Oak. Remember that. Thanks for watching, and cheers.